Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone show. I'm Niko Tamurian alongside my partner in crime, Najee Moye. Najee, it's baseball season.
It's spring. It's baseball season. This is for the beginning of any season, basketball, football, you should be excited. But I don't know, there's something about baseball season. There's something about the peanut call. There's something about the hot dogs. There's something about the overpriced beer at the stadium. And there's something about just being amongst friends. You feel like you're amongst friends or any ballpark, really. Yeah. Amongst Mariners fans, also the friendliest fans in the whole entire country.
I'm a weather nerd. Maybe it's emerging from the cold of winter and spring is in the air.
There's some of that.
Hope springs eternal. Even if you're a team that has never won it, and the Mariners have never won a World Series, it's like, okay, they're first place. And I'm not saying that like they're this franchise that's never going to be there, because we know they're a playoff caliber team. But it's just like all the issues of last year and all the issues we may be talking about at the end of this year in October, they just don't exist right now. We're all happy. Everybody's happy.
Everyone thinks that this is their year. Around Major League Baseball, everyone thinks this year, because even just like last year, look at the two teams that made it to the World Series. No one, if you told us this time last year that'd be the Diamondbacks and Rangers, what? it's literally, I mean, baseball is one of the sports that is literally like anyone could do anything. So this is why I think this could be a big year for the Mariners.
Yes, I think that. I mean, this is a Seattle show. Let's get it right into the Mariners, because this is. I don't want to be dramatic about it, but this is a make or break year.
I don't want to be dramatic about it, but you're going to be dramatic about it.
I don't want to be dramatic, but I'm going to be dramatic. It's a make or break year. If they don't make the playoffs this year, I wouldn't be surprised if there are changes, and what those changes are, front office, managerial, I don't know. But I also don't think it'll come to that, because I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to make the playoffs. The only thing that scares me a little bit is the injury potential, and that's there for any team. But the upgrades the Mariners made, Mitch Haniger, Mitch Garver, Jorge Polanco, these are guys that have all, in recent memory, even as recently as last year, suffered pretty devastating injuries. And right now, the lineup's awesome. And you did it by keeping that rotation together, Najee. To me, you're taking a team that was one game shy, that has been, I'm not going to say that 54% stuff. I thought that was overblown. I'm going to say a team that was right there on the cusp or made it the year before, and you gave them more offense. Because let's face it, even the 2022 playoff team, it was built, and this year's team still is built on that pitching rotation. And it's just going to be dependent on getting some runs, way more runs than we saw last year. And I think the lineup we see, a lineup that's so good that Ty France is batting 8th, it's the lineup to do it. Yeah, but they got to stay healthy.
They got to stay healthy. Health is the main thing. Bringing back Mitch Haniger, first of all, Mitch is a fan favorite, first of all, and everyone loves Mitch. And we hated when he left. We love it more with him coming back. But I think he's a big key as far as the whole health thing. You mentioned he's a guy who can hit 30 home runs. Ty France is a guy who can hit 30 home runs. JP may have been the MVP of the whole entire team last year. We know Cal can hit 30 home runs as well. These are the things we're talking about. But again, injuries. Just put that out of your mind right now. We're looking at the optimal lineup that the Mariners can put together. You're not going to see any splashiest names that we'll have on the lineup is our kid himself, Julio Rodriguez, which, by the way, could be in for a big year this year. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But honestly, you hit the nail on the head, Niko. The rotation, best in the league. First of all, I
agree.
In both leagues. Major leagues, all the leagues. They're in a league of their own.
Even your beer league.
Even the beer league, yeah. And even though Brian Wu is starting a little bit injured this year, that's fine. That rotation still goes 5 deep. I mean, I hazard you to find another rotation better than that. But you have to score more than 3 runs a game.
Right.
And I do think, and I mentioned a bunch of guys who can hit 30 home runs. I do think, and we saw this a little bit during spring training, this is a contact team. This is a team that's going to have innings that, you'll have a couple hits in the inning, have a couple guys on base. When you have that, who knows what happens,
Yeah.
I'm excited for the prospect. I'm excited for a big year from one of our stars, number 44 in the center field. I think he was going to have a massive, massive year.
Let's dive right into Julio, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
Before I get into my reasoning, Najee, what is the most convincing factor for you that Julio is, in fact, going to have a big breakout year?
The trajectory has only gone up. I mean, this is his third full year in Seattle. And even just looking at the home run derbies, first of all, that he just like nailed out the park, just like bam, bam, bam. He's a massive power, and he's getting older. He's getting smarter. Also, as long as he's been in the league, he's just getting smarter and smarter every single year, and he's more and more comfortable. Also, at the same time in Seattle, especially in center field, and I think he knows. We're looking around the lineup. There's some guys on the team, but this is Julio's team. And it will be that for quite a while. And I think he's aware of that. If he wasn't before, and he should have been, I mean, this whole entire city loves him. I think he will play with a higher amount of confidence, higher amount of strength. That could equal to, a big home run year for him. And maybe even a big stolen base year for him, because he's not gaining a ton of weight. He's the size he's normally
40 year?
Yeah. If he has a 40-40 year, I think if the Mariners want to make the playoffs, he has a 40-40 year. He hits 330, 130-ish RBIs. Shohei Ohtani is no longer in the American League. I'm not going to say he's my pick for MVP, but what I will say is this. Aaron Judge in New York, MVP caliber guy. Has he been healthy all year last year? No. I'm not putting money on Julio. I wouldn't tell anyone to do that, but I'm saying do not be surprised if he wins MVP this year.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I agree with everything you said, which makes for an awesome back and forth show.
I know.
No, but
just disagree real quick.
But I'm going to tell you why I agree with all that. And it's along the same lines of your thinking. Mm-hmm. I agree with everything you said. He's a year older. He's a year wiser. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go a little bit on another direction here. I think that the whole sophomore slump thing was a little bit overdone. He had more stolen bases. He had more home runs. He had more strikeouts too. That's part of it, I suppose. But there's one thing that everybody overlooks. Not everybody, but most people overlooks. So he didn't have a lot of help in that lineup. And when you're the guy in that lineup, you're seeing every pitcher, starter, reliever, closer, whatever. You're seeing all their best stuff. Because they know if they get you out, they're not giving you anything to hit. If they get you out,
it's smooth sailing.
They're okay after that.
Yeah.
They can. Gino Suarez maybe oftentimes batting behind him had a high. I love Gino, but he had a high strikeout rate. Some of these other guys that they let go along those same lines.
Teoscar Hernandez.
Yeah, Teoscar is a great example because he usually hit right there in that spot.
And I like him a lot too.
I love Teo, but again, high strikeouts. They know that they can. If they get Julio out, there's a better chance on the other side. Now Julio's help. He's protected in that lineup. He's going to be surrounded in the batting order by guys like Jorge Polanco and Mitch Garver. And, assume JP's your leadoff. Julio bats second. You're not going to pitch around JP because, especially if he plays like he did in 23, then Julio, then you've got Polanco or Garver and Cal Raleigh.
Yeah.
Then Mitch and then Ty and so on. That he's got some help in that lineup, not just in the form of more run support, which is the obvious factor and certainly true in every regard, but also, again, that you can't just pitch around Julio. If Garver hits the way he is capable of, especially that he doesn't have to catch all the time now, he's just DH.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jorge Polanco. The list goes on that I just mentioned. Julio is going to see pitches. And when Julio sees pitches,
he hits pitches.
And we may see the results that you're talking about that I mentioned. And that's why I think Julio is going to have this enormous breakout year. I think this is the year of Julio. Hopefully we don't play this back in October and say, Niko and Najee, what are you talking about?
Hey.
There's just a lot to like. Your take, I would call it like a feel of baseball, right? You've observed the game. You've watched many superstars. You're like, okay, I see Julio and I see a guy that's capable of all this, right?
Right.
And then I'm looking at it from this other perspective of like, well, logistically, yeah. I mean, even Julio's talent ascending, like you're mentioning, is now going to meet this moment of help and all these great things. And, it's just going to be, it's an opportunity that's ripe to come true. And gosh, here's hoping, right?
Here's to hoping, honestly. I mean, and, outside of the hitting, outside of the batting order, and we know how, you mentioned the 54% thing. I know we don't really want to talk about the 54% thing because, I mean, statistically, 54% is 88 games about.
Yeah,
but in that division, in that division, and when we talk about how many games the Mariners will win this year, I will before I even think about how many, like I put a number on it, you want to think about the teams on the outside. The Angels, don't even think about them. They don't exist.
Right.
Sorry.
For all intents and purposes.
They don't exist. The Rangers, again, Houston. I mean, Houston's going to be there regardless.
Sure.
You know? Now they don't have their ace. They don't have Verlander, who's 41, by the way, who's not going to be starting the year this year. He's also 41. How much longer can he pitch? After all, Texas is essentially bringing back a similar squad, if not the same squad. But then again, they weren't that much better than the Mariners were last year. And last year, I was saying the Mariners need to score more runs, or else they're not cracking 500 for the year.
Right.
And then they did. So we talk about playoffs though for the Mariners.
Sure.
What do you think? I mean, you consider the American League. I mean, we talk about Texas to Houston's really good. Talk about the AL East, most competitive division in baseball with the Yankees, in no particular order, of course, but the Blue Jays. The Orioles bringing back a good, hardy, strong team, and also the Rays just will always be there no matter what. What do you think, Niko?
I think that
there's a lot of competition there.
Yeah, no question about it. I think that assuming all things work well, like health is okay, and the stuff that you don't want to go awry, I suppose.
Right.
They're going to be right there. Now the other factors are going to be okay. Who else is right there? And the expanded playoff is certainly helpful in the regard that. 3 wildcard teams now get in.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be right there, just like 22 and 23, but maybe just a few steps ahead. 90 seems to be that benchmark. You got to get 90 to get in the playoffs, unless you're the National League champs, the Diamondbacks, who won 84 games.
Yeah.
But I think if there's injuries, which you can't predict, obviously, there's no you just don't know.
You just don't
know.
But
if there's going to be injuries, we're already seeing one with Brian Wu, right?
Right. There's
going to be injuries along the way. Like, not every guy is going to play 150 games, but if everybody stays reasonably healthy, I mean, I'd be surprised if they didn't make the playoffs at this point, with knowing what we know about that rotation, what we've seen the last couple of years, knowing what we know about the way these guys can hit. It'd be interesting. It'd be nice to see the Mariners go back to being buyers at the trade deadline. Remember 2 years ago, they traded for Luis Castillo.
Huge.
Yeah. And then last year they dealt away Seawald, right? And they're still only 1 game shy.
Right.
Now, granted, I get they get Canzone and Rojas and all that out of the deal, but you almost wonder, keeping your strengths in that pitching area. I'd like to see everything stay intact and then be in that position. Like, okay, we can go all in now.
Yeah.
Because this, the pitching rotation is a World Series caliber, and add that one piece that really makes your whole team World Series caliber.
Right.
Would be great.
I mean, I've been talking about it for the past. I mean, I love that rotation. And between Gilbert and Kirby and Castillo, they weren't hurt at all last year.
Right.
They were healthy for the whole entire year, which is fantastic. But like you said, when you get to the trade deadline, you have guys like Wu, even like Emerson Hancock too.
Yeah, and he's going to start in the rotation. So
yeah, I mean, just like you consider, if you get to a position where you need to make a huge jump, you got all 5 guys are not on trade watch, but you have an option to go out and get a bat or to get another pitcher potentially if you have to. Unfortunately, Blake Snow did not sign with the hometown team, which is unfortunate. That would have been
awesome. It would have been awesome.
It would have been
objectively. It would have been awesome.
It would have been absolutely killer. But I mean, I think the Mariners have a lot to work with right now, and I think honestly, I mean, I don't see them not making the playoffs this year. It's kind of crazy because 3 years ago, 2 years ago, you would have said, I wouldn't have said that even the year that they did make the playoffs.
Right.
When you consider the streak and everything and how long they had been since they not, but they haven't even won the AL West since 2001.
Right. Yeah. It was a wild card bid 2 years ago.
That could actually happen this year.
It could. I mean, listen, the notion that, Houston is this insurmountable mountain, not so much anymore. I mean, they're a darn good team. I'm not trying to discredit them, but
they're not insurmountable, though.
I feel like the Mariners are going up the mountain still, and Houston's been there. And I'm not saying they're on a free fall. I'm just saying you're going to meet them somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's like every great sport. I know you and I are old school NBA fans. It's like, the Detroit Pistons of the 80s had to catch the Celtics, and then the Bulls had to catch the Pistons.
Yeah.
And it took MJ to retire for the Knicks to catch the Bulls, and then the Bulls just got rid of the Knicks.
We don't need to get into that.
But you're right, but you know what I'm saying? Like, in every sport, there's usually this kind of you're going to meet somewhere. And we saw them meet in the 2020 playoffs, and the Astros won. I'd like to see what happens play 162 plus this year and let's see if the Mariners can do it.
I mean, there's no reason why they can't, I feel like.
No, I agree.
No,
I agree.
No, there's no reason why they can't. I do feel, however, though, the competition in the American League is just so high.
Yeah.
Just around the whole entire league and just around everywhere, really, in baseball. I'm just so excited to get underway. I mean, I do wish, we'll find out how the weather holds up. I do wish that opening day was going to be an open roof game. It probably
But the weekend's going to be nice.
The weekend will be gorgeous. Will be absolutely gorgeous. But Niko, let me ask you, let's put a number on it. Not 54%. Let's put a number on it. Wins for the Mariners this year, 2024. W's. Think about how many they had last year. 88?
Yeah.
Now, the team that actually won the World Series had 90.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Talking about the Rangers. So,
I haven't thought about this much because I hate to.
Well, let me give you some background.
But I think I hear about how to say this, and you can give me the background because I like your background story.
I'll give you the background. Me and a fellow producer named Kevin Beatty. Shout out to Kevin.
Former Mariner bat boy.
Former Mariner bat boy in the Kingdom.
Amazing.
6 o'clock producer extraordinary.
Amazing guy.
We were talking about, the beginning of the season. We're just kind of, just kicking around, just like, Kevin, how many games do you think the Mariners are going to win this year, realistically?
Yeah.
He looked at me straight in the face. He wrote this down. There's a paper in the newsroom right now with his name and a signature that says Mariners 93 games.
Okay. I was going to say 92.
Wow.
It could be more, though. I just see, 88 wins on a team that.
I do think the Mariners have to start fast.
They got to without a doubt, man. Without a doubt.
They have to start fast. I mean,
am I going to be stunned if they win 97? No. But I'm going to be conservative and say 92.
I'll be stunned if they win 97, truthfully.
Sure.
92 is good. I'm going to go with a hearty 90.
Okay.
90 is a good
92,
number.
90, that range feels safe.
But I do, if they get to 90 or if they get to 97, they have to go maybe 30-10 within the first month and a half.
Well, what would be nice is when they inevitably have that Mariner win streak that we've seen each of the last 3 real seasons, really.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to not have to need that to rally.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Have that. Let's say let's say 30-10 would be amazing. Let's say you start
that's really extreme.
Let's say you start 24-16.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But then you win 10 in a row.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? Then that's how you get to that. And when you get that patented crazy Mariner win streak of 8 games, or like we saw a couple years, 14.
Yeah.
It'll just mean more. It won't be getting you back in the hunt. It'll be vaulting you into a really solid position. It's like the Kraken, unfortunately, not going to the playoffs. However, remember they had that 9-game win streak, best in franchise history. Well, it was only enough to get them back in the hunt because of the slow start, and because and then ultimately they lost 8 in a row late, and that was it. But the point being that had they started better, like we're asking the Mariners to do, that 9-game win streak would have made this team a playoff team.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But instead, it just only got them kind of in the hunt.
And you want to start fast, especially at the beginning of the year, because you don't want to be in a position where you're pressing at the end of the year like they were last year. Just even make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Just you want to kind of win the games you're supposed to win. Early, and but then again, you talk about that winning streak, and that, like you said, they generally do it all the time.
Yeah.
Every single year, and I just think back into the hottest days of summer, the guys dancing in the infield, at T-Mobile Park, you can feel the energy. I don't, even if Suarez isn't even there, the vibes won't be good, but they'll be great.
Yes, I will say, and I love covering every team here in Seattle. It's just a blessing.
It's a fun team.
There's something about being on that field. You remind yourself, I am on an MLB field right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am never going to take this for granted. I don't care if I'm live for all 81 home games plus whatever in the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's just an energy and an aura about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a different kind of feel, like you're around the players a lot more with baseball than you are any other sport pregame.
Yeah.
It's very free flowing. I've told the story about Julio seeing the picture of my little boy seeing him, and
awesome.
It's probably my favorite story, if not the favorite story of my career, from a standpoint of player interaction. Right. I mean, there's a few other ones growing up with guys who made it, and or making some of my first couple stories I did that guys that made it. My point is that you can have that kind of interaction with a baseball player, like even a superstar like Julio Rodriguez, because of the way baseball is set up, especially in that pregame atmosphere. It's very hey, this guy's around. Why don't you talk to him? And there's just this kind of, you're just around. You get to know them better. You get to you're covering them, but you root for them because you get to know them
exactly
better than a lot of teams. And this is not to knock any other team. You know, you're talking about you're talking about like a post-game NFL, right? It's just kind of very like structured, boom, boom, boom. Whether it's locker room time or the podium. And there's literally nothing wrong with that.
right.
It's just not quite the same of, you know, for 3 hours before the game, you're just like hanging out with some guys, watching Tucker the dog. Unfortunately do his business sometimes in center field, but
hey, well,
you know, and one guy who knows that clubhouse atmosphere better than anybody is one of our favorites, the King, Felix Hernandez.
yes,
I got to catch up with him. Let's play. It's just a quick little interview. He had just gotten off a crazy long direct flight from Miami.
Yeah.
I thought it was really nice in Seattle. It was like 60 degrees. He was freezing in a coat. But let's hear what the man. I'm the man.
the man.
That's his entrance. Let's play it for you. A man who needs no introduction, the great Felix Hernandez. Opening week, thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And you know better than most because you're usually the guy going out there on opening day. What is this feeling like? How special is it from the player's perspective?
As a player, that's excitement. I mean, it's the start of the new season, so you want to go out there and you know, do the best you can do. So trying to win a game. So for me, it's a lot of fun going out there 11 times.
And what does it mean to see, you know, 10,000, whatever, how many fans are in this building? And it's just like a warm-up thing, right? It's not even a game. It just shows the excitement, right?
It shows the excitement, the kind of fans that we got here in Seattle. So, I mean, they're the best fans in Seattle.
I just got to ask you, too, that rotation, they managed to keep it intact while upgrading the roster. How fun is it for you from that pitching perspective to watch those guys go out every fifth day?
They look pretty good, man. They got pretty good stuff. They look pretty good. They get pitchers.
And what does it mean? You know, obviously 2 years they go to the playoffs. There was some disappointment last year. What does it mean that these guys have gone through all that? Heading into this year, even more motivation.
They got more motivation. They want to go out there and compete and then execute, and they're going to do the job that they didn't do last year. So they're going to go out there and compete. They got a pretty good roster.
Absolutely. I got to ask you, what is your favorite opening day memory that you can think of kind of on the spot here?
2007, my first time my mom was in the stand watching me pitch.
How fun was that?
It was 8 innings, 12 strikeout against Oakland. It was fun.
You memorize all those stat lines, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Hey, Felix, we appreciate your time. If you're here, it means baseball season's here. We appreciate you always.
Thank you. I'm freezing, man.
Okay, 6-hour flight from Miami.
Yes.
Oh, we love Felix. Is he just not like the most fun guy to hang out with and talk to?
That's the King right there.
You know, my favorite part of that was that last bit at the end where I say, do you have a favorite opening day memory? And Felix is like, right off the bat, 2007, because my mom got to watch me. And I'm like, well, how fun was that? And then not only that, but my favorite part, yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But my other favorite part is like, so I said, how fun was that? Thinking he was going to talk about like, oh, you know, could see mom while I was on the mountain, that sort of thing. He's like, 8 innings, 12 strikeouts would beat Oakland. Like,
let's go.
He memorizes all these stats.
I love that.
And yeah, he is very good about his stats, and we appreciate his time. And it was just really cool to hang out with him. When King Felix is around, it's baseball season, no question about it.
100%.
He's high on that rotation. I think we all are. I still would have liked to have seen maybe Adam Blake some because, like you see, Brian Wu's already hurt, and you don't know how that's going to go. I mean, listen, the rotation to start last year included Marco Gonzalez and Robbie Ray, and they both got hurt right away. And but I mean, that allowed for the emergence of Miller and Wu.
Yeah.
However, you know, we'll see how it goes. We'll just hope that stuff doesn't happen. Yeah.
Let's get back into that rotation because by the same token as you mentioned, Julio, kind of on an upward trajectory in his first couple of years. I'm looking at the numbers for George Kirby.
Yes.
And third full year. This is his third full year. I'm not going to say that he should be on the lookout for a Cy Young, potential. But if you look at the trajectory for him, I mean, honestly, 133 strikeouts his first year and went 8-5. Even better in his second year. 172 strikeouts, 13 games. He won 13 games. I mean, he'll be maybe second, third in the rotation, maybe second.
Probably second.
Probably second.
Yeah.
Coming after that guy.
Maybe third, just if you want to still limit innings, but I think we're past that point with him.
I think we are too. But I think when you have a 1-2 like that, come on.
And Logan Gilbert's right there too.
How scary is this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really think, could number 2 starter win the Cy Young? I mean, who knows who Castillo could?
Yeah, I agree. I think he can.
I think it's possible. Like I said, we're bringing home trophies to Seattle.
See, that's why I wanted Snell at one point, because you imagine like that 4-headed monster and having Wu and Miller kind of like be your fifth.
Gilbert's tall. Oh, Kirby's tall too. So
yeah, I like George a lot. He, he won me over right away. That Mother's Day first start in 2022.
Yeah,
but he really sold, I think, everybody. Game 3 of the ALDS, the biggest baseball game in Seattle in 20 plus years. Let's send a rookie out there, and he shut out Houston. They didn't score until the 18th.
That was like,
you know,
I wasn't even at that game. I can tell you that as I watched it on TV, I'm just sitting here just like, this is going to go. This is lore.
Yeah.
This is history, you understand? Like,
Well,
as Adam Sandler says in Uncut Gems, this is history, you understand? Even though it didn't amount in the loss, it just shows you what could be.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, for a Mariners offense that was silent that day.
Yeah.
He kept them in it.
Yeah.
And
Silence a great offense in Houston.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about those guys over there that won the World Series that year.
Yeah.
And here's this rookie. Come on. You got a guy that can pitch like that?
Yeah.
And I know there was some, stuff last year. He had some frustration at time being pulled out by service. But just like with Julio, like you the point you were making a second ago, he's a year older as well now. And I just think this team was so angry last year.
Oh my God.
By missing out the way that they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've been empowered now with that offensive support.
That's something that'll eat away at you. If you ever been in life and you had like just a massive crushing, I mean, it could be on the field, it could be at work, it could be in your personal life that you've had an actual just a crushing defeat. I would consider what happened to the Mariners last year so crushing when you consider where the Rangers ended up. It is something that you will literally think about every single day. Going through, your off season, going through spring training, you're going through work with like your eyebrows like this. I mean, you're going through your whole entire, and you're not thinking about, how nice the weather will be. You're not thinking about, what the other team. You're just thinking about gritting your teeth and just showing everyone why you deserve to be there last year compared to in how much you're going to deserve to be there this year. I think the whole team feels that way. Now, you said at the beginning of this podcast, if that does not happen, you said that changes could happen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think at this point you're in this rebuild that's come to fruition with a playoff bid.
Yeah.
How upset the fans were last year. Now, listen, if they don't make the playoffs because 6 guys got hurt or something, if they stay relatively healthy and it doesn't happen, I don't want it to happen. I don't think it will happen. I'm just saying we're at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where, it's a business and fans may not, I think fans will always show up because it's the Mariners and it's just been it's the most loyal fan base in baseball.
Right.
But to be honest with you, like you said, I don't think it comes to that point because of everything you just said. And they know they were only 2 games behind Texas. They know they took 3 or 4 from them on the last weekend.
Yeah.
Only to watch the Rangers go win the whole darn thing.
I mean,
they know like
that'll stick with you.
That's
for
how
a while.
razor thin the margin is.
Yeah.
And so this notion that they were suddenly a terrible team because they won 88 games instead of, what they did the year before with 90 plus, like, no.
Even when you look back the year before, I remember going to the Believe year.
Yeah.
I remember being in that ballpark and when playing against the Angels, trying to win out that series. That place was electric.
Yes.
And then you go the year after the 18-inning game against Houston, and then you talk about Texas the following year. I'm upset if I'm a Mariner, if I'm Julio, if I'm Scott. I don't know how upset Scott can get realistically. But
he gets upset. I like Scott.
Yeah.
He's the perfect dad, like great leader, great mentor, whatever the word is. But if he's got a reason to be mad, you're going to know it.
The past 3 years have ended in a heartbreak for the Mariners. I think it's time for it to end. I think we're gonna tape up that heart.
Let's do it.
We have to.
I'm ready to cover another champagne celebration.
Hey, I'm ready. Niko, your suit looks too nice to get champagne on.
This one got champagne on it.
Well,
that's why I'm wearing it today.
It's bounced back, and the Mariners would bounce back better this year. I do believe so.
So here's to this suit being retired because it's got champagne on it.
Yes. In the future.
Go M's, Najee.
Go M's. Go M's.
Hey,
baby.
We'll see you next week right here on the KOMO Sports End Zone.